What happens when a legendary actor, whose career spans decades and whose roles have become cultural icons, faces a host who knows no boundaries in her provocations? This moment on The View went down in television history as one of the most tense and emotional. Morgan Freeman, known for his depth, wisdom, and calm demeanor, appeared on the show to promote his new documentary about the history of civil rights. But no one in the studio, either the audience, the producers, nor Freeman himself, was prepared for what happened next. The spotlights flood the set of The View. The live audience buzzes with anticipation, holding signs that read, "We love Morgan!" and "Legend!" The cameras hum, operators check their angles, and producers and headsets coordinate, setting the show's rhythm. On stage is the familiar round table, where the hosts sit: Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and Sunny Hostin. The atmosphere is warm, filled with jokes and light laughter, as Joy, as usual, sets the tone with her sharp humor. Morgan Freeman walks onto the stage to thunderous applause. His stride is slow but confident, and his signature smile, warm and slightly ironic, instantly captivates the audience. He's dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, a navy blazer, white shirt, no tie. His presence fills the studio with a sense of gravitas, as if history itself has entered the room. Joy, seated at the table, raises an eyebrow, her eyes glinting with anticipation. Whoopi, as always, looks relaxed, but her gaze is sharp. Sarah and Sunny exchange smiles, clearly thrilled to have such a guest. "Morgan, welcome!" Joy begins, her voice laced with her trademark sarcasm. "You know, I thought you'd retired by now, but it seems you can't stop. What's this new film about?" Freeman smiles, his eyes narrowing slightly, but he remains composed. "Joy, I'm not one to sit still," he replies in his deep, melodic voice that silences the audience. "This film is about the fight for justice, about people who change the world. I'm proud to be a part of it." The audience applauds, but Joy, leaning forward, interrupts. "Justice, huh? Interesting. Because, you know, Morgan, some people say you're just playing the wise elder in these films. It's just an image, right?" The studio falls silent. The camera zooms in on Freeman, whose expression remains impassive, but his fingers tighten slightly on the armrest of his chair. Whoopi shoots a quick glance at Joy, her eyebrows rising as if to say, "Are you serious?" Sarah Haynes nervously shuffles the papers in front of her, while Sunny Hostin clears her throat, attempting to diffuse the tension. Freeman leans forward slowly, his eyes locked on Joy. "An image?" he repeats, his voice calm but with a hint of steel. "Joy, I tell stories. Stories about people who fought, suffered, and triumphed. That's not an image. That's respect for their legacy." The audience lets out a few murmurs of approval, but Joy doesn't back down. Her smile sharpens, almost challenging. "Oh, come on, Morgan. You're a Hollywood star. You play God in movies, but in real life, you steer clear of politics, you avoid the real fight. You're just, how should I put it, sitting on the fence, aren't you?" Joy's words land like a stone in still water. The audience freezes, some gasp, others whisper to their neighbors. The camera catches a producer in a headset backstage gesturing wildly, as if to say, "What is she doing?" Whoopi opens her mouth to intervene, but Joy presses on, not giving her a chance. "I mean," she continues, spreading her hands, "you give these grand speeches in films, but where are you when it comes to real issues? You're not at protests, not in the news. You're just making another movie. That's convenient, isn't it?" The silence in the studio becomes almost palpable. Freeman sits motionless, but his eyes darken. His fingers, previously resting on the armrest, now grip it tightly. Sarah Haynes tries to salvage the situation, quickly interjecting. "Well, I think Morgan does a lot through his films. They inspire people, don't they?" But Joy ignores her, her gaze fixed on Freeman. "Come on, Morgan. Be honest. Are you just playing the hero for the cameras, or do you actually believe in what you're doing?" The silence is deafening. The operator near the main camera steps back, as if sensing the tension is about to explode. The audience is frozen, some already pulling out their phones to record. Whoopi finally speaks, her voice firm but calm. Joy, maybe we should get back to the film? Morgan's here to talk about an important topic. But Freeman raises a hand, stopping Whoopi. His gaze doesn't waver from joy, and something new appears in his eyes, not anger, but a deep, quiet strength. Joy, he says, his voice slow but cutting through the studio like thunder. You think you know what courage is? You think standing in front of a camera and throwing accusations is bravery? Let me tell you about courage. The audience holds its breath. Even Joy, for a moment, seems to lose her confidence, her smile fading. The cameras zoom in on Freeman, capturing every movement, every nuance of his voice. To be continued. The studio of The View is frozen. Morgan Freeman's words, delivered in his deep, resonant voice, hang in the air like the prelude to a storm. Joy Behar, usually in control, falters for a moment. Her smile fades, but she quickly recovers, leaning back in her chair with feigned nonchalance. Courage? Joy repeats, her tone teetering between sarcasm and defiance. Morgan, you're not on the barricades. You make movies that people watch while sipping coffee. That's not courage, it's show business. The audience gasps. Someone in the back row whispers. She went too far. The camera captures Whoopi Goldberg pressing her lips together, her eyes flashing at Joy, but she remains silent, as if deciding when to step in. Sarah Haynes nervously fidgets with her bracelet, while Sunny Hostin cautiously says, Joy, maybe we're getting a bit off topic. Morgan, tell us more about your film. But Freeman ignores her attempt to smooth things over. His eyes, dark and piercing, remain locked on Joy. He slowly rises from his chair, and the movement makes the studio fall even quieter. His figure, though aged, radiates an authority impossible to ignore. The sound of his shoes clicking on the stage is the only noise in the hushed room. The operators scramble to switch cameras, desperate not to miss a moment. Joy, Freeman begins, his voice calm but filled with a power that makes everyone hold their breath. You think courage is just shouting at rallies or posting angry rants online? Courage is telling stories that make people think. Courage is giving a voice to those who aren't heard. My film isn't about me. It's about people who risked their lives so you could sit here and throw accusations. The audience erupts in applause, but Freeman raises a hand, silencing them. His gaze remains fixed on Joy, and in that moment, it feels like the studio contains only the two of them. You accuse me of sitting on the fence? He continues, his voice growing quieter but even more piercing. I've lived a life you can't imagine. I've seen the world change, and I do what I do best, help people see the truth through art. And what do you do, Joy? Use your platform to tear others down for ratings? Freeman's words hit like a bolt of lightning. Joy opens her mouth to respond, but her voice trembles and she hesitates. The audience is in shock, some clap, others whisper, and a few are already recording on their phones. A producer backstage gestures frantically to the operators to keep the camera on Freeman, his eyes wide with panic. Whoopi finally steps in, her voice firm. Okay, let's take a pause. Morgan, we respect your work and... But Freeman cuts her off, turning to the audience. His voice rings out like a sermon, but without pretense, raw and from the heart. I didn't come here to justify myself, he says, addressing the cameras and the audience. I came to talk about people who fought for justice. But if someone thinks they can belittle me or my work to make a show, let me say this. Respect those who make the world better, even if their path is different from yours. Respect those who stand for truth, not for applause. He pauses, his gaze sweeping the studio, lingering on Joy. She looks less confident now, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Freeman adjusts his blazer and takes a step toward the exit. I'm done, he says quietly, but the words land like a verdict. Thank you for the invitation, but I don't play these games. He turns and walks off, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The audience erupts, some stand and applaud, others sit in stunned silence. The camera catches Joy trying to smile, but her face looks strained. Whoopi quickly takes the floor, trying to steer the show back on track. Well, that was unexpected. Let's take a break and come back to our next guest. But no one is listening. All eyes are on Freeman as he disappears backstage. The security guard by the exit looks bewildered, while the producers and headsets scramble to manage the chaos. The studio of The View is left in disarray. The audience is divided. Some shout words of support for Freeman, others whisper that Joy was right to provoke a discussion. Phones in the audience's hands are already recording the final seconds, and clips of Freeman's exit begin spreading online before the show even ends. Social media explodes with reactions. Freeman destroyed Behar. Joy went too far, that was epic. The producers backstage scramble to salvage the situation, but the moment has already gone viral. Clips of Freeman's speech garner millions of views within hours, and the hashtag Morgan Freeman walks out becomes the #1 trend. Joy Behar, usually unflappable, appears humiliated, though she later tweets that she was just doing her job. The conflict on The View became a turning point. For Morgan Freeman, it was not just a walkout but a statement about dignity and respect for those who use art as a tool for change. His speech inspired thousands to watch his documentary, which gained even more attention after the scandal. For Joy Behar, it was a reminder that provocation for ratings can backfire. Society is divided. Some support Freeman for standing by his principles, while others believe Joy had the right to ask tough questions. But one thing is undeniable. This conflict made people reflect on respect, the line between criticism and humiliation, and how each of us uses our platform. What do you think about this conflict? Did Morgan Freeman do the right thing by walking out? Did Joy Behar have the right to provoke him? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated on stories like this.